All right, Maggie. So I assume the question is how do you solve something that looks like this using the quadratic formula? And I realized that my introduction to the quadratic formula probably wasn't the best, so I'm going to try this one more time and then give it to the class. So the quadratic formula is the equation x equals, and then there's that story that I had, right? The story about a sad boy. And that's the reason why I say sad boy is because it's going to be the opposite of B, okay? And then this boy is unsure, right? So he's unsure, so plus or minus, right? It could be either of those. He's unsure about going to this radical party, and that's the square root sign. Now, at the radical party, something happens. He finds out that he is a square. Now, because he's a square, something happens. He loses out on 4 awesome chicks. 4 awesome A, chicks C. Now, the last thing I said is that the entire thing, the whole party is over at 2 a.m. So we write 2A. And this right here is how I personally remember the quadratic formula. Before I used to memorize a song, but this is it. Okay. Now the way it's going to work is you have to be able to identify A, B, and C from your quadratic equation. So the quadratic equation is what is in red. The A is the 16. So we have A is equal to 16. The B is the coefficient of the x, so the B is going to be just 24. And then the C is the constant term, which is 9 in this problem. So C is equal to 9. So I'll write down C is equal to 9. Next, what you're going to do is you're just going to take those numbers and you're going to plug it into the formula. So we're going to write down x equals the opposite of B. The opposite of 24 is negative 24. So we're going to write the opposite of B, negative 24, plus or minus, and then a gigantic square root sign. The square root of that 24, the b to the power of 2, so 24 to the power of 2, minus 4 times the a, which is 16, so 4 times the a, 4 times the 16, and then also times the c, which is 9 in this problem, so times 9. And then the whole thing is divided by, so we're going to divide the whole thing by 2 times a. And a in this problem, again, is 16. So we're going to write 16. Now, what I did differently from what I was doing in the notes is that I actually filled it in piece by piece. Normally what I do is I simplify it as I go through the problem. So I'm going to show you how I would simplify the problem normally. Normally what I would do is I would say, okay, rather than writing down negative 24, I would say the opposite of 24, which happens to be the same thing in this problem. So opposite of 24, plus or minus the square root. Rather than writing the b squared, what I normally do is I just square that number. Oftentimes it's a number that I can do in my head. 24 I can't do in my head, but I did look it up earlier. It comes out to 576. Minus 4, and then this next one I'll do in my head, 16 times 9. So I'll always multiply the the orange and the yellow number. 16 times 9 happens to be 144. So I get 144, all divided by, all over. And then I'll multiply the 2 and the 16. That's 32, so I'll have over 32. So often what's in purple is what I'll do when I start off the quadratic formula type problems is I won't do all the plugging in. I'll do a lot of the mental math as I'm plugging it in. My suggestion is you actually do it like we did in all the colors, the blue, the orange, and the yellow. And when you get fancy, you can start skipping some of those steps. All right, next. We have to simplify this thing. The only thing I can do right now is multiply the 4 and the 144, and this is going to give us negative 24 plus or minus the square root of 576 minus, and 4 times 144, we're kind of lucky, is 576 divided by 32. Next, simplify what you can. Looks like the only thing I can simplify really is the 576 minus the 576, which gives me negative 24 plus or minus the square root of 0, because when you subtract a number from itself, you get 0, over 32. And that's a 0 right there. All right, the square root of 0 is just 0. So now what I have is 2 possible answers here. Technically only 1, but I want you guys to split it up. What I mean by that is you would write negative 24 plus 0 over 32. And then you would also do negative 24 minus 0 over 32. That's what that plus and minus sign means. It means that you have to do 2 problems. You have to do the plus problem, and then you have to do the minus problem. And those are going to be, sometimes they're going to be 2 different answers. In this case, they are the same answer. And when I simplify it, what I end up getting, they can both, so negative 24 plus 0 is negative 24. 24 and 32 can both be divided by 8. and that would give me negative 3 over 4. And over here, I would also get negative 3 over 4. So my final answer, since they are exactly the same, is just this right here. X equals negative 3 over 4. All right, so if this doesn't help, go ahead and text me back or email me, and I will try and, I don't know, do a different problem, maybe explain it differently. All right, talk to you later.